Hello, Internet. It is I and Darren. This is episode 286. I will let Darren talk to you while I update the description. But this is episode 256. We're going to talk about a lot of cool
Oh, yes.
stuff. But the first thing is, as always, what does it do, Darren?
What does it do? What doesn't it do? Or what doesn't he do? I just saw my mentor the other day, and that dude has his hands in all kinds of things. Shout out to my man, Donald Park. I'm not going to get into what he's up to in his life and his business too much, but I was impressed. You know, I was impressed, and I expect a lot from when I talk to this guy. I'm like, oh, so what's new in your life? And he's like, and I'm like, ah, like, that's fucking overwhelming. Um, but it's good to have people in your life that are doing outstanding things that would impress anyone, right? That way you have something really, really high to aim for. It's like, and if I aim super, super high and I end up landing in the middle, it's not so bad. But if I just look at the middle and aim for that, if I land below that, I get end up in the gutter. So I'd rather I'd rather fucking shoot my shot and try to be more like that guy than other folk that are out here doing their thing. But it was an incredible thing to see an old friend. It's always good to reconnect with the people who knew you before you were doing what you are doing now. Like, it's always good for me to reconnect to people who have seen different incarnations of like me as an adult. You know, like that guy met me when I rode up to his academy on a 10-speed bicycle, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. You know, um, and he turned me into a person who is capable of doing much much more than that. So I'm always going to be appreciative, and I was grateful that he had some time for me. So again, shout out to the fucking Korean young Donald Park out here doing his thing. And I'll release this to you, Anthony. Here's something that I didn't see coming,
What?
and
What is
I'll
that?
share this with the audience. I'll share this with the audience, even though it's probably premature. Um, I've made it clear to people who listen to our podcast, who listen to us speak, that I made a choice to stop drinking, right? And I've continued to do that. And honestly, I'm not really struggling with it. Um, it just feels like the right thing to do, and it gets easier every passing second. It's taking nothing out of me not to destroy my body in that particular way. But I'm sitting at fucking lunch with Donald, and I'm wearing a Raw shirt, and Raw is a brand of rolling papers. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh yeah, I know about Raw." And he's like, "So you still smoke a lot?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, like a lot." Um, and he was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then we were just chatting more and more and more. And he was like, "Yeah, one of the reasons I don't really do that is just because I like being sharp. I like being sharp all the time." And I had to like come to terms with something that I've openly denied many, many times in public and when pressed on it. And it's, does it ever make you feel like you're removed or duller, or like, does it ever make you do that? And I would always defend it and be like, no, never. But like sometimes that's the reality. The reality is sometimes,
Of course.
and sometimes not. Right? Exactly. Like, but I was like so against the idea of someone saying anything about pot that could make it seem negative that I would just shut shit down. It's very similar to the way a lot of people react if someone says marijuana is addictive.
It's like,
They'll be like, no, it's not. And it's like, well, everything is. If
yeah.
we're just if we're gonna talk about, is it habit forming? Is it something that changes your state? Is it a state that you might crave when you're not in that state? Could you become preoccupied with attaining that state? These are these are like the hallmarks to me of addiction. It's not really like, it's about behavior to me. So like you could be physically addicted to something, like, but what if you never have access to it again? It won't really matter. Like it won't really matter. But like if your brain is preoccupied with being involved in an activity, I think that's something to be more concerned with. And I'm not like weed's bad because I'm literally smoking weed as we talk. But I do think it wouldn't be inappropriate for me to really take a look at marijuana's role in my day and decide where it belongs in my day and edit it out of parts of my day. I think that wouldn't be a bad approach for me. I think it could benefit me in a lot of ways. And not least of which, fucking financially. Like, if I just smoked less weed, that would be kind of cool. Like, I'd have more money. I'd have more weed.
You'd save a lot of money. You would save a lot of money.
I'm just saying. Well, slow down. Let's not say a lot of money.
I'd say a lot of money. It's like,
no, we would. Yeah, we would say.
Yeah, it's like whatever you spend, you'd save a lot of that. And you want to hear something that'll make you laugh even better? Is that I, in my own hubris of being right, was also wrong. I was at a bar, and because like me and my neighbor go out every Thursday to go get like dinner together, and we just have like chats, just like help them, like, we socialize with each other just to have talks and whatever. And so I'm like, went to this place, and he's like, he wanted to sit at the bar, so I was like, whatever, because we do this all the time, I don't mind. Because I'm usually like, oh, I'll get a ginger beer, I'll get a ginger beer, I'll get a ginger beer, I'll get a ginger beer. And then I'm like, as I'm going through like, oh, not drinking, it's like, I pointed out to him like, hey, like that beer that you're about to get, that's a non-alcoholic beer. You shouldn't get that, because like if that's what, it's not what you're looking for, because it's like it's an AF, it's AF something AF beer or something like that. And I'm like, the joke is that it's alcohol free. It's not actually like, like something as fuck beer, whatever it was.
Okay.
But it's like hoppy as fuck beer, like IPA as fuck. Yeah, IPA as fuck. That's what it's supposed to be. IPA as fuck. And I'm like, no, that one's actually, a non-alcoholic beer because it's like it's because it's horizontal. No, vertical. It's vertical. Like the label's vertical. Like the lettering sideways.
Okay.
Because you can't, no beers have lettering sideways. It's just weird like that. I've never seen a beer with sideways letters. If you've ever think about it, I've never seen a label like that. So I'm like, doesn't have it. And I'm like being all cool about that, like, yeah, man, I know this thing. And I'm like, yeah, let me give me a ginger beer. And I was like, yeah, and I just started drinking the ginger beer, start drinking it, don't look at the label. I'm like, oh, it's a Krabby's. It's like, all right, I lost my own personal bet.
So you're now drinking.
Yeah, now I'm like, well, I'm not now drinking. It's like I had a drink and I was like, that really made me sad. So I just like stopped drinking, and I was just like, all right, well, I guess I gotta start over again.
Well, technically, the bet that I'm doing, which started the not drinking thing, right? The bet that I'm doing allows for me to have a beer with dinner.
Oh, really?
It's really an anti-drunkenness thing, but you can have like a drink with dinner. You could have a glass of red wine per week. But I've opted not to indulge in that because I don't trust myself to completely stay honorable once I've had a drink. It's like, well, did I have like a series of 4-ounce flight, like a flight of beer? Is that one drink? Like you start fucking around with the fucking rules. It's just better for me not to fuck around.
Yeah.
Like for the sake of the bet and for the sake of just life, it's just better for me not to have alcohol.
Yeah. No. That was my goal too, but because every bar, ginger beer. It's always non-alcoholic ginger beer. It's always like that. And then the one place, it's like Krabby's is like the thing. Here you go. It's like, no, dog, that's not what I want.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bars. Like I would go to a restaurant.
Right.
But it's got to be a shoot restaurant. It can't even be like a bar and grill. Like, no thanks.
Right.
I don't want to be sitting next to people who are just drinking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I don't want to do that. Like, and it's not, there's no judgment. I just know, like, there's no judgment objectively.
Right.
I just know that I start to feel uncomfortable when I start to hear people getting louder because I know they're having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of here. So it's just better that I don't go.
You haven't been to those places with the barriers. It's a different world, man. Those plastic barriers, you can just adjust them. I adjust them towards their face so they don't talk. They just can't hear them as loud. It's a great thing. It's like I'm just sitting there and they're getting loud. I just start moving it closer and closer towards them to let them know, like, hey, like, this is what divides us. This is what makes you an animal and makes me a person. And I just keep pushing it towards that direction so they understand. You can slide them over, which is
what
nice.
kind of animal are they though?
Doesn't matter.
What kind of animal?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Fat, ugly, white, black, skinny. It's all the same to me.
Anthony.
And if you're not in my little
son of a bitch.
plexi box square, you're an animal to me.
like, as long as you're inside this box, this is where all the humans are.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
There's a film called Little Big Man.
I think I've heard of that.
And in Little Big Man's about children who are abducted by a Native American tribe during like the settlers' times, right? And the Native Americans in the movie refer to themselves as the human beings. It's like, there was once a white man who attempted to become a human being. There was even once a black man who tried to become a human being. That sentence just cracks me up every fucking time I think about it. No, you know what? It's not. They don't actually say black man. They say there was a black white man.
Black white man.
Yes, and the movie's so interesting in this moment. It's like, and the black white man is the strangest of all of the men, and like I feel like I should rewatch it before I start quoting it like further than that. But the idea of like black people's displacement into a new world, and then a role forced upon them has made them into something strange and different, and that was an idea introduced in a mainstream film with Dustin fucking Hoffman in it.
I was gonna say
it's essentially a comedy. You know, is Faye Dunaway in that movie?
Of
Faye
course.
Dunaway's in that motherfucking movie. Dude, Faye Dunaway doesn't get her due, dog. Faye Dunaway's bad as fuck. Chinatown, Little Big Man, Faye Dunaway all motherfucking day. Faye Dunaway rules. And like, and by like all day, I'm talking about like sex appeal. I think she's an insanely sexy lady. But there's also a lot of talent there. Like those two movies alone are like, those movies are gold to me. Gold.
gold.
You can't even talk me out of that shit. You can't talk me out of that shit. You know what else you can't talk me out of, Anthony?
Guns of the Navarone.
No.
Oh.
The scorecard that I had for the Ortega fight.
What was your scorecard?
You couldn't talk me out of that. That was an easy fight to score.
Yeah.
You know what fight might not have been as easy to score?
Well, I'm gonna guess now the Lomachenko versus Lopez.
Correct. And I know everybody likes Loma, and I'm one of those people. I didn't even know who Teofimo Lopez was before they fought. Like, before the day of the fight, I didn't even know who the other half of the card was. I didn't know the name of the B-side for the Loma fight. Real talk. And this is a man who's a world champion, a 23-year-old world champion. I had never heard his name, and if I had, it did not stick. And because of that, I was under the assumption that Loma would just go out and slap the head off this kid. And then you start hearing things about how his dad's been talking shit for a long time, like 2 years, about how his son not only can't be whooped by anybody, but will whoop Loma. Then you find out that that same guy was an Olympian. So he has not the exact same background. He's not a two-time gold medalist.
Similar.
Right? But he's been in that world. He's not just coming off the fucking couch. He didn't just luckily knock somebody out who held a belt and say, I'm the champ, and I want to fight this guy for a big money fight. He's a guy who's been on the ground with his nose in it for a long time. And he's like, yo, I'm a young guy too. I got 15 fights too. I think I'm the shit. In fact, my name is The Takeover.
Takeover.
The Takeover. So he gives himself a prophetic name. And he sends himself out onto a journey. I've been listening to some Joseph Campbell, all right? Maybe I've got the hero's journey in my mind. But that's what I see when I see Mr. Lopez. No, he's got a strange father for a hero. Because usually the hero's not talking shit, right? But the hero does say, I want to take on a great task. And then goes out and does it. And that's what Mr. Lopez did. Now, did he do it at the same rate that the judges said he did it? That's what the debate is. I think people are always partial to the card of the person who is like doing the commentating. Like when I was a kid, it was Harold Letterman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that it was Mr. Letterman whose card everybody fucking trusted. Because there was a scorecard that everyone's seeming very upset about, and they're calling into question. And it was a scorecard that was written on by his daughter, Julie. Julie Letterman is a boxing scorer, a boxing judge, and has been for years and years. Like years and years and years.
Right.
She didn't just like jump in here for this fight. She'd actually apparently officiated one fight for each gentleman previously.
Okay.
Right? I think over 1,000 fights this lady has fucking done. Right? A lot of fights. So she is experienced. And she scores the fight, if I believe, 119-109. And that gives the impression that Mr. Lopez won all but one round.
Yeah.
The commentator who scored the fight a draw. I don't remember if it was Tim Bradley or someone else, but one of the people who was on the fucking commentating panel scored it, I think 113-113, or maybe it was 114-114, but they scored it a draw. The other two cards appeared to be significantly closer, especially the one that was 116-113.
Mm-hmm.
And on the same weekend, on the same night, where you see a group of judges completely agree about a fight in a different sport, the UFC.
Yeah.
You see 50-45 across the board in a sport that has more variables. In a sport that you could argue has more nuance for who won a round. To have this many different views of how this fight went with Loma and Mr. Lopez, it's unsettling. I can't say that it's some criminal act by Julie Letterman to score all these rounds a certain way. But it doesn't sit with me well. It made me feel weird when I was watching it happen. It was like, I saw a different fight. Now, the fight that I saw, interestingly enough,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't score. But I don't see how you could really score many rounds for Loma. Especially until about round 7 or 8. It's like, he didn't really fucking try to do anything until late in the fight. So it's like, you can't weep for the guy. He wasn't robbed of anything.
Right.
He was beaten for all intents and purposes. He was beaten. But was he beaten in all but one round? I don't know. I feel like he won a few of those last rounds. I don't think he won the very last round, but I think he won a few of those rounds. And that makes me feel like, you know what's funny?
What?
When you're trying to make something happen for a day and a half and then all of a sudden it happens. So I plugged in a fucking flash drive to try to like move some things onto it and like try to be responsible, and it just wouldn't recognize. And then all of a sudden, midway through our podcast, it goes bloop, 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 and instead of your face, I see a big file open.
Nice.
So at least there's that. But yeah, I think it's weird that the scorecards were so varied. But you can't, I don't think if you're a Loma fan and you're like, oh, they fucking robbed your boy, like, your boy robbed your boy.
Yeah.
His strategy didn't pay off. It appeared his strategy was to keep very high guard, stay very defensive, and see if he can put some pressure like on the guy and get him tired, and then open up on him at the end. And he opened up on him at the end, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And maybe we get to see them fight again, and maybe there's a different strategy, and maybe that makes the entire fight as exciting as the last 4 or 5 rounds were. Because the first half of that fight wasn't the most entertaining. Like, it was watchable. It wasn't like astonishingly bad. It was still watchable.
Yeah.
There were still wonderful, brilliant moments, things that I could learn from. But like, it wasn't entertaining until Loma started to actually put his hat in the ring and say, yeah, I'm actually here and I'm going to try to win now. So yeah, that was weird. But did you watch Brian Ortega
I
put
s-
on the fucking clinic
oh,
on the zombie?
I saw the highlights. Like he just like the countering with the spinning elbow.
Dude, that was sick. But overall, it was an excellent performance, dude. And I feel like a lot of people were like, and not like people online. I mean, people that I saw every day were saying like, "Oh yeah, zombie's gonna get him," and this and that. And I'm like, I really think Ortega can stop him, actually. And I was saying Ortega round 3. I think I said it on the podcast.
I don't think we talked about
I
it
said
at all.
Ortega
Actually,
round 3, but he dropped him in round 2,
yeah,
and he wasn't able to create another dynamic enough moment to go for a finish after that. But he handled that dude. He handled that dude. He made it look like he was on a much different level. So shout out to Mr. Ortega for getting it done and not giving people room for debate.
yeah.
No one's asking if the zombie got fucking mistreated or robbed in this fight,
No, it was
except for the fact that he got mistreated by Mr. Ortega.
yeah. It was very clear that this was a good decision.
Mm. And unanimous in a real way, because it's not just unanimous, in the sense that everybody agreed who won. They had the exact same cards
Yeah, like
across the board.
across the board, across
Which
the media.
It's
everywhere.
just nice to see. They always say you can't leave it in the hands of the judges. And I think they're right. I think they're right. I think there's been so many times where I'm watching a fight in combat sports that has judging involved, and I get deeply disappointed by what the outcome is. That's happened way too many times for me not to have a bias against what happens if you do leave it to the judges. But you should be able to. You should be able to leave it to the fucking judges, or they shouldn't be there. And I guess that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, that's what I was, like, getting to, I guess. Is that, why the fuck can't you leave it to the judges? I understand that we all have subjective viewpoints. I understand that. But, like, if you can lay out a better set of criteria, something more comprehensive, then we can get to a point where we don't have these huge disparities between the judges. But, like, on this day, MMA got it right.
Yes.
But it was a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
It was a pretty fucking easy one. Brian Ortega didn't make it so that it was difficult. But Loma and Mr. Lopez made it complicated. They made it complicated. They were playing with some of the numbers and some of the ideas of who wins. Do I control the center? Do I dominate punch output? Is it the percentage of punches that I land or my volume? Like, these are things that are debatable and that people who understand the game will exploit and force judges to debate amongst themselves. But there needs to be a way to, like, really draw that in. And they always say, like, Teddy always says that boxing's so corrupt. Teddy Atlas
Yeah.
always says that boxing is so corrupt. And I don't see corruption in this case. Because the right guy won. So you can't really say corruption. When the right guy wins, you can't be like, I smell a rat. But man, I would have been more comfortable if those cards had been closer.
More like a diagnostic error. Like there needs to be a diagnostic test on that person.
I don't even know how you solve it.
Eye check.
like,
Eyesight check. Let's see.
The difference between
Can you see?
116, 113, and 119, 109, I think that's a big difference. That's a big difference. That's 4 rounds. That's 4 fucking rounds. Fuck. Like, that's a big difference. I'd like to know what was seen by Miss Letterman that wasn't seen by the other 2 gentlemen. I want to know what was seen that said, oh, this guy dominated this, and this, and I that's high in my criteria. Just to educate me.
Understandable.
Not to keep me from, like, burning her house down or anything. I ain't mad at you.
No, yeah, let's not be mad at people.
Just educate me. What is it that you saw that these guys didn't see?
It's beautiful brown skin.
I live in Vegas. You probably live in Vegas.
No.
Teach me something, Miss Letterman. Teach me something. Anthony,
Yes.
you know what? You know what happened this week that like, it kind of bummed me out, but it also made me happy. There's a tournament that happens in Japan, a pro wrestling tournament,
Yeah.
and it's usually in July. It's called the G1,
Yeah.
and it's one of my goals in life to be balling so hard that one year I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to Japan and just be there for like 3 weeks and see all the matches in the G1. And this year, my own decisions plus COVID meant that there'd be no G1 in July. So like my own decisions were I didn't have the money to go if there was one, and then there was COVID, so there wasn't one.
Understandable.
And they did the G1 though this October. They did it.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling is back open in Japan. They're open at like a third capacity in some buildings, depending upon size. And they did the G1, and the G1 just finished. And one of my favorite Japanese wrestlers won the G1. And I think it's something about like just seeing my mentor and thinking about like, man, I should really be making more money. And the G1 just happened. I'm like, It just makes you want to grind, Anthony.
Understandable.
Makes you want to get this paper, Anthony.
I get what you're saying.
Which means we have some things to discuss.
Uh-oh.
Now, is there any other news in the world, Anthony?
Well, there's a UFC upcoming this weekend, Saturday, at 2 p.m. Early one.
Is that 2 p.m.?
Early, yeah. It starts 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right, that's exciting. So we're talking about Justin Gaethje versus Khabib.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you I think Justin's going to win this fight. And I think Justin is going to stop Khabib.
In the third.
How'd you know?
It's just a funny thing that you like to pick. It's the only even number.
I like the third round.
Even number in the odd
Magical
sequence.
things happen in round 3, Anthony. Everyone knows. No, I'm just making that up. But yeah, I think third round Justin Gaethje. I think he's gonna do a good job at managing his energy. I think he will find an opportunity to hurt Khabib following a failed takedown or a clinch separation, and he's going to get him out of there. And he's going to be the undisputed world champion, and that's a fun story. That's a fun story. I like it when the guy who's unbeatable wins, but I also like it when the guy who's unbeatable loses. I like it, you know? And I would like to see Justin get that dub. And I think the change of style is a really, really beautiful thing to watch be successful. Like I'm kind of going through a changing of my style. And so maybe it's just like projection, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see a person who once played a certain way, decided to play a different way. I want to see that guy be successful. I want to see Justin have his new style pay off. Because I do think if he was just the marauder who comes forward and just tries to kill Khabib right away, I don't think that guy's going to have as easy time stopping the takedown as this version of him will. I think this version of him is going to have a much easier time stopping Khabib's takedowns. And Khabib's going to be ineffective much earlier than he normally is. And that's going to be a huge factor. And Justin's going to get it. Justin's going to get it.
I want to make American wrestling great again. I want them to let them know that we don't care about your tiny little country. I want you to know that it's bullshit. It's true bullshit. I get it. There's like you guys get world champions from your country, but guess what? We're talking about MMA. We ain't talking about just wrestling. We're talking about MMA wrestling. I do not believe that these are the best wrestlers in the world. I'm sorry. You're a Sambo what? Sambo who? Don't care. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
You're grappling.
Anthony, this is very aggressive.
It's
what
true.
you just said is that Dagestani wrestling is number one bullshit.
Yes, 100% number one.
You think it's number one bullshit?
100% number one bullshit. I mean, they probably could take me down, sure. Sure. But I ain't a D1 wrestler. I didn't spend my life in a mat with pasty white kids.
No,
So
it's not the takedown that I doubt. So I just want to acknowledge that these are people who compete in the two international styles of wrestling, which are
right.
Greco and freestyle,
Yeah.
which do not reward a person for their ability to control a person down on that mat. You get him on that mat, and if he's on that mat, you expose his back. You can pin him, but you don't have to hold him down. And in fact, if he survives about 5 to 10 seconds of not being turned, they stand you back up. In American folk style wrestling, the way that children are taught to wrestle, the way that you wrestle through high school and middle school, control is the number one thing. You take the guy down, you control him. We have a thing called riding time. They don't enforce it anymore in high school. They do enforce it in college. Riding time can earn you a point, which means that wrestlers are incentivized to actually do it. They stay on top, which means they break you down. If you stand up, they slam you the fuck down. If you get out, you get a point. That's incentivized too. There are no escape points in freestyle because they're going to let you the fuck up. So if you specialize in wrestling in a region where you don't have to control a guy, how valuable is your wrestling style for MMA? It's going to vary person to person. Now, is it possible that Khabib's wrestling style is the ideal style for MMA? Yes. But is the Dagestani wrestling style ideal for MMA? I have difficulty believing that.
I mean,
even though just today I used the phrase Dagestani wrist cuff, I did Dagestani handcuff, I did say these words, right? I still would not say that, like, oh, their wrestling is the way to the fucking future in MMA. It's not.
right.
American wrestling is actually MMA wrestling. It's the act of controlling the guy on the ground so that you might be able to ground and pound them or submit them.
Yeah. And,
So yeah,
and telling it like it is. I don't care about all these stories about Ed Ruth and Billy Bob Joe Thornton, whoever the best wrestlers in the world, who got beaten up by Khabib in his gym at his school, where you know what happens is that they got striking class afterwards. It's like, what are you trying to tell me? It's like, what are you telling me? When I'm at your house and I whoop you at your house, you don't think I'm gonna catch another one later on? Of course not. I understand the rules. I show up. I eat my vegetables. I be quiet. I wash my plate and I say good night. I go home. I don't act like I run the show.
learn something.
Yeah, I don't act like I run the show and ask for
Are
steak.
you walk in there and start smacking motherfuckers?
Yeah, asking for steak dinner when it's lasagna night. No, what is wrong with you? No, you never do that. So I'm not worried about that.
It's like, yeah, you might end up outside in a street fight with 5 dudes.
Exactly. Like, wow. Yeah.
Here's what I do know from experiences here. A lot of those dudes will feel some kind of way about it if you dog them in training.
Yeah.
A lot of those dudes, if you dog them in training, will get 2, 3, possibly 4, 5 of their buddies and be standing by your fucking car when you get out of training.
Yeah.
With your gear bag and your water in your hand, and then you got to be like, let's negotiate. Like, nobody wants to be in that kind of a spot, especially if you're not just in a parking lot in some strip mall in America. If you're in a fucking parking lot or in a fucking basement in Dagestan and a bunch of dudes are like, hey, we think you cross-faced Joe over there a little too hard. It's like, oh shit. Like, now you might have written a check your ass can't cash.
Exactly. So you want to cross-face me back? I don't know what you want from me. Anyway, co-main, we got the Jared Kinnear, the scariest looking black man ever, versus.
Does he use the name Gorilla?
I'm pretty sure he does. Well, I mean, I don't know if he uses it, but that's what they call him, the Killer Gorilla.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, is that his name?
That's his name, Killer Gorilla.
Fuck him.
Nah, let him embrace it. I'm okay.
Fuck him.
Okay.
I hope he gets fucked the fuck up. I'm not with it.
I'm with it.
I'm not with it. I'm not embracing that shit. That's like borderline Bob Sapp shit.
I'm out here trying to sell these white folks and Japanese.
I'm just saying, for the amount of motherfuckers that would accuse me of the crime of quote unquote cooning, when a nigga's out here calling himself the Killer Gorilla, you can go fuck yourself. You can fuck yourself. Like, I'm not feeling that shit at all. So who's he fighting?
He's fighting Robert Whitaker.
Ah,
Yes.
a racially ambiguous human.
The Reaper. The Reaper.
I go Reaper
Baba Nux.
all day.
Baba,
I'd be very upset if the Killer Gorilla won.
the Baba Nux comes in.
I'm dead serious on that
I
shit.
believe
I'm
you
really
are.
not
I
feeling
think
that
it's so
nickname.
funny.
I'm sure he's a cool guy. Fuck that nickname, for real. Like for real.
It's
Like the
2020,
long
dog.
way.
It's
Like I'm not with that shit in any way.
20, dog. What's wrong with you?
Like what the fuck is wrong with you, for real? Like for real. Like what do you think if like they had called me like a spider monkey instead of Keebler Elf, I would have been like, all right, that's it's a shoot. That's what it is. You guys named me that. That was my real nickname for shoot. No, it never would have been my fucking nickname. And the first dude to say anything primate-like about it in real life, would have gotten a fucking bottle in their face. I was still crazy when I got my dumb little nickname. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
Like, you could have gotten a bottle. This is before, like
Zen.
fucking trying to learn and be nice. This is still, like, tiny, could totally get killed in a bar because I said the wrong thing, Darren. Like, like, that could have happened.
Hey, man.
Like, many times.
At least your nickname
Like,
is,
many times.
at least your nickname's like a nickname that you actually like, something that you actually don't mind. Like, I hate my nickname, like the Black Gato, sneaky Black Gato. Like,
Who gives you this name?
oh, the dude in Austin, one of the jiu-jitsu dudes in Austin at the House and Great.
Oh, yeah.
He gave me
yeah,
that nickname,
yeah,
and then it translated to work. So now everybody at work calls me Sneaky Black Gato, Sneaky Black.
Oh,
Gato.
yeah, you made a mistake. You told the story to the wrong people.
Of
Look,
course, that was great. It was a great story because I was like,
Look, I'll take Keebler. I'm just saying, if somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you're like that one tiny monkey," I would have been like, Psh. We'd have been fighting. We would have been fighting. So like, how do you go to an athletic commission and they're like, "Oh yeah, what's your name?" And you're like, "Jared." And like, "Oh, your last name? Cannonier. Is there anything you're known by?" Killer Gorilla.
Killer Gorilla.
I wonder if he's ever had to look at a black person and tell them, as they're like writing down his information, that he's the Killer Gorilla, and like how they were like, "Excuse what? The what? Oh, no, it's not like that."
Well, hold on, wait. Can we?
Are you sure?
I want Jared Kinnear versus what's that dude's name? Why is that? I'm forgetting his name right now. White British guy.
The white.
Darren Till.
Oh yeah. See, all right. Now look. Darren Till being the gorilla is entirely different because there isn't a long-standing history of racist fucking cartoons and name calling referring to black people as gorillas and monkeys. Like, if that was said about British dudes, it would be the same thing. I'd be like, "Oh, Darren, you can't do that shit. That's on the nose, bro. Don't fucking nose. You can't do that. It's a bad idea."
Yeah.
Like, if you're a Jewish fighter, are you gonna be the Shylock? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, like, no, you wouldn't do that because it'll be fucking whack. And like, we're just gonna let this motherfucker be the. They tried to cancel Ice Cube. These motherfuckers are ready to cancel Ice Cube because he was trying to talk.
I mean,
This
dude's also said
to Donald Trump.
This dude's also said some
and
pretty.
make some demands
Yeah.
of Donald Trump
That's not
and
the-
his friends. I'm just saying.
That's not the reason why they
tried
should have
to
canceled him.
cancel Ice Cube.
They should have canceled him before that.
Meanwhile, this nigga's out here saying, "I'm a killer gorilla," and nobody says boo about it except for your boy Keebler.
Nah. People been saying boo about Ice Cube for a while. He needs to get canceled because he hates Jews. So let's get that out there. And
Whoa.
just saying, man.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. If you look at the news, he's all about that.
I don't want to spread lies.
Farrakhan. He's all
How
about
do
that
we know
Farrakhan.
that Ice Cube hates.
He
Jewish
says
people?
some pretty anti-Semitic stuff, dude. I don't know if he hates them, but he has a strong dislike
wait.
for them.
Is he talking about the entertainment industry, or is he just talking about Jewish people?
I don't know. It's all the same to me as Jewish people. Just because you were in the entertainment industry and you're Jewish.
No.
I don't know.
It is not the same.
Let's look it up. Ice Cube.
Like, what did he say? What did he say?
Ice Cube anti-Semitism.
Was he like doing some fucking secret, like some coded shit where it's like Nation of Islam? It's like, oh, do you mean the wicked Jew? Like, because that's some bullshit, right? Or was he just like, look, like, these people control a certain percentage of the media? Like, what did he say?
Hebrew Israelite slaves in ancient Egypt. Clearly, they are black people. Sorry, what was this? What was this from? This was from like some nonsense that he said. I gotta find the picture again. This is gonna take.
The Hebrew Israelites are fucking crazy people.
Let's see. What if I was just pro-black? Let's see. Hebrew Israelite slaves in ancient Egypt. He's like showing them as black people. A rare early photo of statues before Europeans shot the noses off. What I stand for. I believe in actual facts. What is this? Where is this?
This is Ice Cube talking?
This is Ice Cube talking. Yeah. Where did it go?
Look, if a motherfucker watched Hidden Colors and then did an interview like 2 hours later, they might say some dumb shit. Dude, like, I'm serious. I'm kidding, but I'm serious. Like, Hidden Colors is a documentary that a lot of black people of all different level of prominence are fucking into. Do you know about this movie?
I don't know anything about this movie. I think you've told me about.
Nigga, I'm about to throw this chair through the fucking.
I promise you, I've
You
never.
know what we should really do?
Yeah.
I'm not even fucking around. Remember how we used to do like fight companions and shit on the low?
Yeah.
Back in the day?
Back in the day.
We need to watch Hidden Colors and like just fact check it. Just like stop. Be like, and stop. And let's go and look at this.
I don't want to spend 4
because
hours.
that movie makes some wild ass claims. Now there are other things in the movie that I totally know are fact. Right? Like there are things that are a part of especially American Blacks history.
Yeah.
That don't get talked about. Like that kind of get talked about every now and then now, especially since Killer Mike is opening up a bank called Greenwood.
Yes.
Because Greenwood is that area in Tulsa. That used to be Black Wall Street, all this shit, right? So like there's stuff that's real. But then there's also shit where you can tell that motherfuckers are reaching. That like it's like you don't really have a great linear story. As a culture, American Blacks don't have a great linear story to tell. Because your culture was really many cultures smushed into a single culture called slavery. And everyone's culture was taken from them. No one knows where they're really from. It's a whole thing. So it's a very unique kind of history. And instead of just acknowledging that uniqueness, a lot of people are like, let me tell you what really happened. Let me tell you what really happened. And now you have Hidden Colors and sequels to that dumb shit.
5.
And a lot of people believe in this stuff because there's nothing else. There's nothing else. And it's like it's the same thing like the world is flat. It's like the same like, oh yeah, they're not telling us the truth. Well, yeah, they're not telling you the fucking truth, but it doesn't mean the world's flat. And it's like, yeah, they're not telling you the truth. But like I think one of the things says that like black people were in America like before anyone else and all this shit. And it's like, why is that important to you? Like, why does that have to be a part of your story? Why do you think you have to be here before everyone else?
To let them know.
Because you were told you were nothing, and so now you have to tell yourself you're everything. It's like, look, it's the way that I react the same way when a motherfucker looks at me and is like, see, you don't understand that we were kings. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how kings work.
It's like we all can't be kings.
We all can't be fucking kings, asshole. So that means that somebody was digging a ditch and somebody was scooping up shit and somebody was making food for the king and somebody was sucking his dick. Like, calm the fuck down. With like, we were all kings and shit. Calm the fuck down. There was a king. And he could probably speak. Motherfucker. So, I don't know, man. Those things just bother me. That whole pattern of speaking, like, the same. Like we were the original man. What is first best?
It's like
Is there such thing as best?
Yes, there is. It's the one where you can just connect to the computer and you become one, and then that's the end of it. It's over. Everything's done like that.
Trying to ascend.
Exactly. Trying to ascend. Why am I trying to devolve?
So we should try to be Asian. Anthony.
Asian. That's aggressive. That's be Korean. Some would say.
Anthony.
Hey man, you brought it that way. I'll bring it that way too.
Give me some weird news.
Let's see. What is the weird news I got? Kansas teen taken into custody after covering himself in ranch dressing and crashing car.
Oh, you did both.
He did both. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was high.
High on what?
They don't say. They just say he was under the influence. They found the teen naked and under the influence. The sheriff said the teen covered himself in ranch dressing and damaged property inside the deli. After the teen ran outside the deli, I don't know how. When does this deli open at? Like 3:30 a.m.
Especially during COVID.
Yeah, Sunday,
It doesn't sound very
Saturday,
responsible.
early
They're living
Saturday.
wild lives in Kansas.
I guess so. After the teen ran outside the deli and jumped into a running vehicle and crashed it into a pillar. So he jumped into I'm guessing that means the vehicle was somebody else's vehicle, or was it his vehicle?
He was on some outlaw shit. He was really feeling himself, so to speak. He was like, look at all this ranch. And he put it all over his balls and he jumped in someone's car. What a legend. And is he fine? Of course he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
It's like if you're gonna smear ranch dressing all over yourself and crash a car, the only thing I'm certain of is that you'll survive. You know?
Yeah.
That you'll be fine. If that car had fallen off a cliff and burst into flames, the motherfucker who stripped himself naked and covered himself in ranch dressing, he's gonna be fine. But like, let a Rhodes Scholar try to cross the street on an icy day. That motherfucker dead. That motherfucker dead. But some fucking asshole who would be dumb enough to cover himself in dressing, he will survive. He'll be here with the cockroaches long after the rest of us are dead. He's like Motley Crue. You know what I'm saying? Like the Motley Crue theory is, you put that band in a room with all the drugs in the world, they're gonna come out just fine. But you take Jimi Hendrix and you give him a little kiss of the wrong drug at the wrong day, he's fucking dead. Because geniuses don't last like that, you know? But idiots,
they laugh.
Idiots are like Teflon, dog. They are durable as fuck, and they will be here forever.
Let's see.
Anthony?
There's another one. This one's a little bit more interesting.
Yes, give it to me.
I don't really understand it, but murderer who wielded narwhal tusks to stop terrorists gets royal pardon.
All right. You're going to have to show me what these tusks are, and
There's no
where
picture.
was this?
This was in London. There is no picture of Tusk, and I don't really understand the story, but what it sounds like to me is that this guy who there was an attack in 2019, which I'm still trying to figure out how this guy was free. I'm trying to figure out how this guy who murdered somebody in 2005 was free in 2019. What was it?
They got different rules over there, man. A murder's not a big deal. Keep it going.
Apparently, yeah. Like this dude killed like a fire. Him and his friend killed a firefighter. And I guess they were in prison, and then I guess they got out, or they were allowed on some like daily patrol or whatever it was. And there was this guy who had like a fake bomb strapped to his chest and 2 knives, and this guy I guess just went after him. He just grabbed like a chair, and like a civil servant passed him like a narwhal tusk. I don't understand how they just carry narwhal tusk in London like that, but I guess that's in lieu of guns. So he just passed that over and started stabbing this dude, and then once the dude like finally kind of started running away from him, then the police shot him. But yeah, so this dude's a hero. After he murdered some dude, he gets off free because he stopped a terrorist attack.
That sounds fair.
It sounds fair. His son's not happy.
It's
though.
like,
Son's like,
what?
His son's like, stay in jail, dude. I want to
Really?
He's like, yeah, stay in jail, dude. He's like, I have mixed feelings about this. Like, I don't want to see you. So it's like,
whoa.
Yeah, so I'm like, it must be something.
all right. Well, I don't want to see you is one thing, but like, stay in jail is fucked up.
It's fucked
like, I would not wish stay in jail on anyone I know personally. Like, nah, stay in jail, dog. Like, no, dude. Free my man.
It's like,
But like, I don't necessarily have to kick it with you once you're free.
Stay in jail, dog. Like, it's like, don't come near me. Stay in jail. Like, stay black.
Stay in jail, Pop.
Stay in jail. Stay black, but stay in jail.
That's fucked up.
That's so fun.
Anthony.
Yes.
It's been a lovely podcast.
It has been. It
I
was.
must bid you adieu.
Yes. Do you want to have
I
that
must
chat?
bid the internet adieu.
Do you want to have that chat now
Say
or
again?
later? You want to have that chat now or later?
Later.
Okay.
Later. But yeah, there's fun stuff. There's
Awesome.
fun stuff to discuss. And I will speak to you about that later.
Okay.
And internet, the last time I said goodbye to you, I was like crying and shit.
He was.
But it was my birthday.
It was.
You must forgive a motherfucker on his birthday.
His Juju birthday.
You know? It was my jujitsu birthday.
His Juju birthday.
I was only sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
But now I'm back to being 39, and 39-year-old ugly dudes don't cry on their podcast. But maybe I'll cry again when I become a 40-year-old ugly dude.
There you
You
go.
know? Like, anytime there's a milestone, I'm likely to cry. In the meantime,
Because he's dying
I will
slowly.
say goodbye. Say again?
Because he's dying slowly. Goodbye, internet. XO.